Okay, we are in the same segment with Dr. Roche Mamabolo on talking about building ecosystems in entrepreneurship. And I'm just going to not go into what he talked about, because part of our presentation, both of us, is to not only prescribe what should happen, but to share the picture of what's happening and what other people are doing out there, and how best can we participate in terms of us as entrepreneurs. Because sometimes when you talk about entrepreneurship, we tend to think, not entrepreneurship, building ecosystems, we tend to think that is an institutional action. So we have to now delegate for the other people to do it for us as entrepreneurs. But we don't actually see how best can we participate in building those platforms ourselves. Because part of the problem that I've seen with our country is that most of us think that the government has to do a lot of things for us, whereas we can do this. I usually say this, that the government of Botswana may not create jobs for young people, but does not prohibit us from doing the same. All the things that our government is not doing does not prohibit us to do those, more especially when it comes into the entrepreneurship space. So in essence, I want to talk more about you understanding that we, in the end, are going to be the people that needs to get out there and do all the things that we talked about. All the co-working spaces and the working spaces and all of this, in the end, you and I have to think through in terms of provisioning those things for the entrepreneurs that are there. In finding myself in my space of entrepreneurship development, I got to learn earlier in my life that I'm not this guy who's going to be creating, this products and services and something that you can be proud of in the end. But I'm here to provide platforms for other people who are entrepreneurs to be doing what they are doing best. And that's what I've done in the last 6 years. I run a company called Launch It International. It's a business development, or should I say entrepreneurship development company. I've also written a book which recently launched last year, November 17th. It's called Think Like an Entrepreneur, Act Like a Prostitute. I will explain later. I've also, I have a program that I'm doing for entrepreneurs. It's called the Project 124 Entrepreneurship Development, which the idea is to, like Roche was talking, let's stop charging people who don't have money for the good things that they want to do for them to have money. You know, entrepreneurs struggle. I struggle a lot. And standing here, I don't want to proclaim that I'm a success. I am one of the guys who's still trying to make ends meet in entrepreneurship. But one of the things that I like with myself is that I don't fear talking about my failures, because my idea of success is moving from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. So I've failed at many private things that people don't know, that I post only successful things. And they think, because I've done so many successful things in public, they think those are the only thing that's going on. There is a lot of things that goes on. There's a lot of things that blows off. I've been to near court somewhere last year. I've been threatened to death by so many people. I don't share these things because most people think it's easy, to do what we do. And I've actually worked 8 months of getting my money to pay back a bad decision that I made through choosing a partner who was coming from another country and say, man, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I say, this is good for our people. And then I say, okay, let's do it. And then we do it, and then he runs off, and then the whole thing lives with me. And then I have to make a lot of money, not for myself, but for paying back. Because now I love my name so much more than everything else. So, and I do usually tell the people, so in the end, I understand. So I have to take the blame and try to solve it myself. So I am going to talk about entrepreneurship, because if you talk about building ecosystems for entrepreneurship or in entrepreneurship or with entrepreneurship, first and foremost, we need to pause a little bit and talk about entrepreneurship. Most of us, we have a misconstrued understanding of what entrepreneurship really is. Some of us, we have our own conclusions that we've made by ourselves, and we tend to take that as entrepreneurship. That's the reason why we have a different breed of entrepreneurs in our country as compared to entrepreneurs around the world. We have entrepreneurs in our country who think that for anything to happen for them, somebody else is responsible for them to make sure that they are becoming successful at that. We are in a blessed country where we are given business ideas, money, land, everything for us to do, to an extent that we can call on a national radio and complain to the government and say, they finance my my mortar and brick business, and I have an inventory of about 100,000 bricks, and they are not buying it from me. And I'm complaining that the government must buy my bricks because they finance me to produce these bricks. I'm not talking about something that I've heard from other people talking about it. I was listening to RB1 myself, and a certain gentleman in Mulepola called and made that complaint. And mind you, he is right, because that's what we have been made to become. That's how we have been made to think. Even when we apply, the person who is financing businesses does not understand that when you finance any business, you are not actually putting money on the business itself, you are putting money on the person. But the model in which they use to approve who gets funding is the model where we use to approve the concept if it would work. And therefore, because the business plan makes sense, and then the person comes with rehearsed questions and answers, and they answer those, we give them the money, and after they get the money, we come back to the same statistics that we have right now, with over 85% of startups that are financed by these institutions dying every single year. Mind you, this is not just death of businesses. This is death of jobs, potential jobs. This is somebody, we are risking people losing on many good ideas by developing them in this format. I've tried so many things in Botswana, and to a point where I thought maybe I'm the one who's the problem, and or the things that I'm thinking about can't work, until I've tried them in different markets, and I didn't know that it's not me failing, it's not my business failing, it's where I was doing it with the people that was doing it. And therefore, had I not gone to those markets, I would not know those things. We have so many frustrated entrepreneurs everywhere in our country. First, from all the bureaucratic things that we see, that sometimes even when we call them and say, come and do FDI, they're still coming to experience the same thing. We are told that we cannot raise a company in a week, but other people are getting the same service in a week through BITC. And the question comes down to say, what's the difference between those people and us? I am partnering with somebody through your FDI program. I can even call it a problem. The same guy, you are giving him a different service and you are giving me a different one. Botswana does not have a resource problem. It does not have a people problem. It does not have a product problem. We have a thinking problem. The attitude to how we're doing it. When I was asking at NDMI FM, I made the statement that I don't think the programs that has been created that deals with entrepreneurship in this country has been created for entrepreneurs. In my thought, they have been created in thought of entrepreneurs. Because if they were created for entrepreneurs, then they would work for entrepreneurs. But the same programs for entrepreneurs are working against entrepreneurs. Why? Because we have non-entrepreneurs with zero experience in entrepreneurship developing entrepreneurs and expecting them to run the way they think entrepreneurship is, but that's not what entrepreneurship is about. We think of an entrepreneurship as an event. We don't think about it as a lifestyle. We don't think about it as something that takes years to yield results. We don't think about it as something that we are believing things that people don't believe, don't see the possibilities, but we see it in our minds, and we are patient enough to wait for it and work on it, even when we don't get paid in the process, until it makes sense, even if it means 100 years later. But between now and then, I gotta live, I gotta pay my rent, I gotta do all these things, and you need to help me do that. And that's not what our country is doing. We think that entrepreneurship is just about having an idea, man, get it registered, and once you have opened the thing, you are success. The successful entrepreneurship in this country is when you have a registered business, not like the business itself, like the documents. You have a Facebook page. All young people around the country are starting to call you for speaking engagements and ask you about your success story of how you started it. Starting in this country is success, not finishing what we've done. This is why we have many starters and we have very few finishers. This is why 85% of what we celebrate to start, we don't know what it went 6 months later. And you can imagine the frustration of entrepreneurs around this country. Not only the visible ones that we see, But so many people that try things in their private times, they don't even tell us, but they try to do all these things, they get frustrated in the way, and they don't know where to go to get the assistance. So I just want you to take a look at the real thing that's going on in this country of ours. All right? The government between 2013 and 2017, according to the SONA of the President, His Excellency the President, Dr. Ian Khama, our president, my good president, he's made this statement that we've invested about 2 billion pula in developing entrepreneurs, if I'm correct. Let's do the math. What is 85% of 2 billion? That's how much we have drowned down the drain by doing things with the right motives, but we are not open to saying how best can we do it. In my thinking, I think it takes an entrepreneur to build an entrepreneur. In as much as a lion gives birth to a lion, goat to a goat, employee to employee, entrepreneur should be for entrepreneur. And that's why I'm saying, in the end, if we're talking about this, we are the ones who have to do all these ecosystems for our people. Do that make sense? Secondly, what I want to talk about is, let us understand how other people understand entrepreneurship, not from the basic definitions of entrepreneurship is about solving problems, yada, right? Entrepreneurship, the way I know it, and I'm not saying what I'm about to say is correct or right or good. I'm just saying it's what I thought of. And in my thinking of how best can we do what we do, I just thought that entrepreneurs that we have in this country are a little bit, are hugely different from, let's say, entrepreneurs in South Africa. All the entrepreneurs that we're seeing on the screen from Silicon Valley, and by the way, Mr. Roche, I think it would be a good idea to call our startup nations Silicon Delta. You know, we got the largest inland delta in the country. So I think Silicon Delta will do much better branding for us. I'm left with 3 minutes and my 30 seconds. The second thing I want to talk about is that we need to understand that when we say we become entrepreneurs or we get into business, we must understand that we are getting into markets. A market is a place where there's a seller and a buyer. So there are transactions all day long. Before then, of course, there are other processes of production and market validation and all of that, yada. But what we need to understand, as Roche has talked about, the reason why when we develop what we do, we develop them with thinking, or local thinking or locality mindset, or I don't know how to put it, but we think so small because of the structure of where we exist and because of no point of reference as to what entrepreneurship should be about, because business. I have a grandma who developed me to be an entrepreneur. At 4 years old, I started drinking chibuk through my thing, how do you call it? Time. When my sister was babysitting me, because the family that I grew up in, between that point and now, more than 90% of the money that's ever come through in our family came from hustling. We never have ever worked. Not even me. I've never been on an attachment or internship, and I'm not even planning to. Right? We sell every single day. My mom lost a job when I was doing standard 3. Between my drinking shake, of which she got beaten for it, but I take pride that I drink shake before people who are 10 years older than me knew it exists, which is cool. I don't see any problem with it. I didn't die. The family where I come from is my grandma, who is an epitome of what I call entrepreneurship. When I opened my eyes as a young boy, the first thing that I remember seeing is I was in a mall with a Coca-Cola and a pie, all to myself, by myself. Never has it ever happened before, because every time I wanted to eat a pie, I had to share it with somebody. So that was the first time, and that was my grandmother having bought me that. And this is in a business which she runs, which she still runs. She's 89 years old today, and I tell you now today that even if you go to Mahalape, in the Mahalape bus rank, in the market, the third store, you'll find my grandmother there. Today. I don't know when she started, because when I was born, she was still at it. When all my brothers were born, my oldest brother is 48. When he was born, she was still at it. All right? So that's where I saw entrepreneurship live and direct. I know how it feels like for you to be, the way people looked at us as entrepreneurs when we were growing up. When my schoolmates see me at the market, and then I'm packaging the onions for them. When you guys are passing through our town, and then we put the thing on the boxes where we put the chicken and fries and a little bit of tomato sauce, and then we put them on a box, and then we tell you how going to your beautiful Tropo ya Muka town, it's telling you that Paimanoko drink limits. Chicken and chips, all of those. I have been through that. When you mock us as entrepreneurs trying to do what we see best that we must do, because now we are not influenced by a passion, we are influenced by circumstance at home. We don't sell, we don't have what to eat. But having grown through that, having built houses, I hated working because I was working with my uncle, and we're building houses, and in my tenure in the company, I built over 24 houses in Mahalape alone. And throughout the 24 houses, when I count all the 10 pullers I've made per house, you can see how much I've made, right? And everybody was paying 800 puller per house that we built. That's 800 puller from foundation and labor, what, because we get paid in levels. That's what actually entrepreneurship happens. We don't have a payday. Every time we submit, we get a pay. All right? That's how I lent money from that point of view. So again, I graduated from that to the mall when I was now knowing what I'm doing. And I've also graduated from the mall into what my mother's business. She does flowers. And then my job is to make sure that I put the flowers into wheelbarrow, I run throughout Mahalape and sell the flowers to every single home. I've learned there that there are people who buy and people who are just interested. I've learned through the same process. I can judge you or you will not buy my flower. You don't know how it feels like when it's 6 p.m., you haven't sold one flower, and you are told that if you come with 15 bucks, we might have something to eat. You don't know how it feels like when you are driving wheelbarrow back home knowing that you haven't sold nothing. Not only will it hurt my mom, it will hurt me. God has raised me in a way in which I never had something for tomorrow. I always have to work for something today, every single day. That is what entrepreneurship is. It's the 30th or the 31st. You don't have rent money. Let's forget about your shoe money. Let's forget about your food, whatever. Rent, basic necessity. You have a girlfriend at 25. You want to get married to her before you're 27. You have nothing. Because people think as long as you get into entrepreneurship, then therefore every other aspect of your life has to pause. Things has got to go on. But there is a need for society to understand what we mean by entrepreneurship, so that when you talk about ecosystem, the biggest word that comes out is support. And support means we understand you are falling or you want to go up. So I'm going to sacrifice my moment with what I have for you to get that thing going. You understand? Yes. So the last thing in my last 1 minute that I want to say is this. The markets that we are going into, as long as you call yourself an entrepreneur, you must know that you are getting into these markets. The world has been divided into 3 major markets. Of course, there are other sub-markets under it. I'm just going to deal with 3 of them. We have what we call the mature markets, the emerging markets, and the less affluent markets. I'm not so much of a doctor. I can talk about mature and emerging. But I'm going to talk about the one that I have experienced in Africa, which we call the less affluent market. Affluence is having everything you want to do, whatever you want to do. So less affluent means you have very little, but you have very much to do. So you got to juggle things around. You understand? So that is the market that we have in this continent that we have. So this is the same market of which our entrepreneurship exists in. This is the same market that has, when you talk about trade and everything, this is where everything all happens. We are selling things to people who don't understand them, plus they don't have money to buy them. Right? So how then do we build what Roche has talked about in a market like that, in a way in which we support entrepreneurship to thrive, to understand that this is something that is going to break even in the next 5 years or 10 years. There's something that's going to start producing real results in 8 years or 15 years. We are going to be able to scale this thing up after 15 years. How do we teach our entrepreneurs that when you exist in this kind of market, this is not only the mindset that you must embody, but this is the knowledge that you must have. These are the models that you must use, and this is the frameworks that which you should work in. Because I think there is so much deficiency when it comes to that. Because now when I look at business, I look at it from two sides. It's what we call the craft of the business and the business of the craft. And most entrepreneurs are good with the craft of the business, which is what they offer the market, the service or the product, but they don't know the business of the craft as to how do I run the business of this kind of craft that I've developed. For example, our Google developers guys, the GDG guys, they may be good with producing all these great apps that should work, but these are not just apps, they are businesses. So we need, from that framework, when we build ecosystems, to understand that our focus in supporting entrepreneurs is not just about giving them a pat in the shoulder that you are doing good and keep doing this. We have to provide platforms that helps them to manage the business of their craft. English. Hush. There is can I have your water? This is the craft of H2O. When they say, what is your business? They will say, we are in the water business. You understand? This is the craft of the H2O company. I have a friend who works for SPA. When he looks at SPA as an accountant, he does not look at SPA as the product that you buy it. That's SPA, right? The people who are in SPA, they look in the shelves, they look at SPA as the products that are in SPA. Let me put it this way. Ray Kroc, when he looks at McDonald's, he does not see the burger. He sees the business of the craft of McDonald's. And the consumers see the craft of the business of McDonald's. We're talking about the same business. It's the burger, of course, that got McDonald's into business, but that's the level one of what entrepreneurship is. Mark Zuckerberg had to create Facebook, and this is what's going to happen to you. If you're a business, you have to be, you are the one who's supposed to be doing what you are doing, or either coding or producing, whatever it is. That's what you're going to be doing when you are proving the concept. But as long as you have some people working for you, you might not necessarily be involved in that. You're going to graduate or elevate to another level where you're not involved in the craft of your business, but in the business of your craft. I think I've given enough examples for you to get what I'm talking about. Are we okay? Yeah. So the business of running this water business. When you go to government and say, I want to get into the water business, they are concerned with two things. How many thirsty people do we have a day? How many of those thirsty people have $7 to buy this? So as long as you prove those numbers, and then you have designed your water bottle and everything, it looks very nice, you've proven your reverse osmosis thing, and this is how everything's going to work, and this is my competition, you list Go03, you list all these other guys, and then to them that makes sense for you to get the financing. Now when you get to work, when you have all the machines and you have everything in your warehouse, and you have to produce these things, the time you are done producing and they are here, then we have to start with the business of your craft. You are fast learners. I like that. As I close, number one, we must understand that the world is not working the way we think it is. All right? As far as business is concerned, I'm going to give you an assignment. Go to CBD and look around all the businesses that you see and tell me, when you look at that, do you see our beloved country, Botswana, or do you see the world? Second thing, as I close, you must understand that when you start something today, there's no longer what you call going to the world to sell it, because the world is already where you are at. And the way the world does business is different from how we do business. Just a couple of months ago, we were so concerned about shoppers growing their model into the villages and closing all tech shops. We haven't seen nothing. We are getting to a point where all these businesses, because look at it this way. It's another guy on Gen, let's say Gen Switzerland. He's developing a business to grow it around the world, meaning this country. That's good for him to grow worldwide, in as much as it's good for you also to grow worldwide. But growing worldwide means getting to each other's territories. And if the way I do business from Switzerland to Botswana is high-class, world-class, global standard business in terms of my craft of the business of the craft, then therefore when I come into your space, the way you do business gotta change for you to sustain the same market. Because now why already did a business in Botswana or just doing the way we are doing it, the lazy way we are doing it, the cool way we are doing it, before we built the CBD. Do you understand? So when we build ecosystems, we must be cognizant to this, that the way we to support entrepreneurs is not necessarily only to protect them through policies from denying other entrepreneurs into our economic zones, but it's to develop entrepreneurs to be globally competitive, to be able to run businesses that if we are to grow them outside, they don't have to change any single model. All right? The last thing, I'm just going to sum up my fourth closing into one, is this. There are billions of solutions to the world's biggest challenges that hasn't been discovered yet. And one of them, I'm pretty sure of this, that is in you. Now imagine what will happen if you were to enter your grave with the idea. My time is up, and I thank you for yours.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.
For inspiration. It's quite sobering.